So, Bloodworth, you like driving games. It's something I've learned about you. I've been paying attention this whole time.
You have to listen to the engine sounds.
Yeah.
From the office.
And I thought you were going to talk about like 2 or 3 driving games, but there were 6 driving games you checked out at E3. Let's go through them as quickly as possible. Go.
I have Forza Horizon 2. I have Drive Club. I have The Crew. I have Project Cars. And then I have 2 you probably have not even heard of. One is called World of Speed, and the other is called Tabletop Racing.
You mentioned a little bit to me when we bumped into each other at the show about the last one, but I have heard of World of Speed. But let's go in order. So start with.
So Forza Horizon 2. I knew this was coming. I think most people that follow Forza knew that this was coming. It's very close to where my ideal driving game would be because it's built on a solid physics engine. It's actually built on Forza 5's physics engine. But they've kind of, actually this is a Drive Club quote, but they're doing the same thing. They've kind of rounded off the corners, right? They've made it more accessible, but it's still built on that foundation. So the question I had in the last game is like, well, why don't they just give people the option to turn off the assists? But I don't know if they'll do that in this one. One thing that they did say they will be doing though is they are introducing damage modeling into the handling. So now, like, when your car takes damage, then you'll actually feel the car pulling against you and that kind of thing.
Cool.
So people that are into that will definitely be excited about that. They talked about just how they've opened up the world more, so you're not as limited to just being on roads. And so you can, go straight across a field. There are times actually in the demo track where they put the line straight across, like, a vineyard or something, and you're just like, all right, I'll just cut this way and forget.
We'll talk about cutting corners. How can you cheat that way? I mean, can you?
I don't know if it would even be called cheating. And they even talked about that with the drivatars. That your drivatar is not just recording like how you drive and how aggressive you are, but like if you're prone to take a certain shortcut, then your drivatar will take that shortcut as well.
Cool.
And then one of the cool things that they talked about is, in the first Forza Horizon, they had all these AI cars driving around that you could like do the flashlight thing and challenge them to a race. Well, now those are going to be drivatars. And as they're driving around, you can actually follow them. And if you follow them long enough, they might lead you to a secret that your friend found, in the barn or whatever. So that's kind of cool. I got a chance to try it out. They've introduced weather this time too. So like as you're going through the race, like you actually hear like that thunder crack, and then it starts sprinkling.
The first Forza Horizon was just time of day that changed, but it was always sunny and
there's
beautiful.
never been weather in any Forza game whatsoever.
Oh,
so
okay,
this is
cool.
a first for the series. So that's cool, and it'll definitely be interesting to see, how that all plays into everything.
Do you find that's interesting about racing games in general, that they kind of choose that one thing, like, we're not going to worry about that. Gran Turismo's like, damage, we're fine,
Right.
And so, that's always exciting when they're like, okay, now it's time for us to implement this.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different little underpinning things that are like, competing in a racing game. I forget what exact number they said, but I think they said, like the physics modeling and stuff is running at like 320 hertz or something. It's like way higher than what the graphics engine is rendering. What else? They kind of talked a little bit about clubs. There's going to be like 1,000 car or 1,000. You can have 1,000 people in a club. They talked about like being able to meet up with people and just like hang out and look at each other's cars and that kind of thing. And how they had like the races against the airplanes and stuff. Those kinds of things are back. There's like the teams of fighter jets that you can race against. You can race against the train. So with some wacky things like that. I hope they get even wackier because I felt like in the first Forza Horizon it just like, oh, here's another aircraft.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the same
I remember
thing.
you mentioning that.
So we'll move on to Drive Club, which, as I mentioned, is kind of similar in that the handling model is neither an arcade or a simulation. It's in that middle of the road, being realistic, but still being accessible. And one thing he specifically was talking about was when you're in a video game, you don't have the same sort of depth perception, so you don't brake as early as you should. So they've made it so that it's easier to brake when the corner is coming up. So there's a little bit of assistance there. I got to drive on 3 different tracks. There was a track in Chile, There's a track in Norway which looked really gorgeous with the snow and stuff, and then a track in India which had some cool trees and stuff. And one of the things he was talking about was how these, the environments, they put as much detail in the environments as they put into the cars. There's as much attention to the environments. And so there's not like this, like distant skybox, except maybe like way, way far in the distance. They've modeled a lot of the background detail, and they actually have like volumetric clouds. So the clouds have like all of these properties of like breaking apart and coming back together and stuff. When they were talking about is with the challenges, like, so when you complete a race, you can send that to a friend as a challenge. But you can actually like set it up so that it's like the same time of day that you raced it and everything, because the time of day can be really variable. You can speed up the time of day to where you start in daylight and then you end in darkness, and vice versa. And then so I played those single player yesterday, and then today I wanted to get in and play multiplayer, because like everything they talk about is multiplayer, and every time I played the game it's been like just a single player demo, and it's like, okay, this is cool, and I'm glad that the AI is kind of aggressive and it looks like they actually care about overtaking each other and stuff. But I wanted to play multiplayer, and so I went down to the show floor, and they had 4-on-4, like a blue team versus a red team, and I get into my seat on my side, and at first it's like me and my own teammate are kind of like bumping into each other and jostling for place, and then I finally like break ahead, and even though I finished ahead of everyone else because we're playing as a team. Then and even I think it takes off points for like when you're bumping into walls and that kind of thing. So it's counting how you drive, not just exactly who was first. So I finish, but then I'm waiting because like, okay, how's the rest of my team gonna do? And like I see a guy coming like second or third, and I see a guy coming a little bit later, and then the next couple of guys are red, and it's like, oh no, like the last guy is on our team. It's like, are we gonna make it? But we managed to do it. I got a little pin out of it. But it definitely it made the game come alive more to be playing multiplayer, and I think that's the secret sauce that we've sort of been missing.
The club and drive club, right?
It's like, I want to see more of this. I want to see how this works and all the challenges and face-offs. One of the things they said about face-offs, which they're kind of like these little checkpoints in a course, is that they get populated based on your skill, so they're always going to be challenging to you. So you're going to get somebody's time that's better than your previous best. So that every time you go through it, then you are encouraged to improve yourself.
Now, Blood, every time you talk about the crew, I get sad, because I like open world games, and this concept of this like shrunken USA is really attractive to me. I haven't seen anybody do that before, where you can not only drive from like LA to New York, but there's this open world around that, and you're never really that impressed. So what'd you think at E3?
It's weird because the last time I played it, I got to play a good amount of time, and I felt like the handling was improving. This time, I felt the same way I felt last year, to where I like the environments. I think that the technical, like the rendering, the resolution of it is kind of subpar. I like a lot of the challenges. I like that you have these little checkpoint things that you can do where you're just driving free roaming, and then I drive through this, and then here's a challenge that I can do in the next minute, as I'm on my way to the next race. And I like being able to team up and group up with people and like tackle a car, and those events are pretty fun. But the handling is still like it's weird. Like I was doing this race through these swamps, and it was really cool, and like you're going over bridges and stuff, but I couldn't actually keep the car on the bridges. Like it always wanted to like slide out of place, and I don't know why that is. Part of me wants to say is that they're so focused on the RPG aspect, and you kind of like, for all these events, it's sort of like Diablo or Borderlands getting loot. It's like you're getting engine parts and that kind of thing. So I almost feel like the cars are intentionally dumbed down so that you can feel the improvement over time.
Okay, yeah.
So that definitely worries me a little bit. And then I did the crazy motion seat thing as well, and that just a proven novelty. It's like I would never want to play a game this way. This is just like, okay, I'm getting bounced around, but it's not like I feel a little rumble when I go over some rocks. It's like when I go over rocks, I feel like I'm jumping a wave in the ocean. This thing is just leaning me back and forth, and I make a turn, and I'm like, whoa.
No video? We didn't get that?
No, I didn't have a camera.
We have footage of Justin.
Oh, we do have
We got
footage.
Justin in the chair. Oh my God, Justin smiling.
So I think
I
think there's still potential in the scale of the crew and be able to, just like that, like you said, like the idea of getting together with a couple of friends and spending 2 hours driving from New York to LA. There's definitely has to be some value in that. But I think there's gonna be putting it all together. I think there's gonna be cars that you love and cars that you hate. It's going to be very like divisive to where I can't control this car. Let me get a car that I do like.
Yeah.
So
those are probably, you would say, the three most prominent racing games.
Yeah, those are the big dogs, so to speak, from the big publishers.
And then we got 3 games you might not hear a lot about.
Yeah. Project Cars has been like the dream of PC sim fans for years, and it's on the floor this year on the PS4. I don't think anyone should necessarily be surprised that the PS4 version doesn't look as crisp and clean and beautiful as all the the trailers that guys have put together. But it still looks pretty good, and I was just able to do one course. There's a Brands Hatch course that they have on the show floor. At first, it was just like, I was kind of second guessing myself because it was like, am I just coming off of these, more blended games that I don't know how to control a car now, because I just kept spinning out around the corners and stuff. But then when the developer came over, he was able to monkey around with some of the settings and stuff, and just put like some of the more basic assists on, like the traction control and stability control, and then it felt more natural to me. So, but it's a funny game because I feel like whereas a lot of games have demos that are like very polished demos, I feel like this is just, here's the work in progress where it's at, and it's not quite there yet, but you see the potential in it, and you see a lot of the things they've got so many options in there for like when you start the game, it's like, what kind of racer are you? So you can have it be very simple and easy to drive, or you can have like that extreme simulation experience. And he talks like there's a lot of tracks in it. It does have a weather system, and he was talking about having the feature where like depending on they've actually modeled the clouds so that the rain is falling from where the clouds are positioned.
That's insane. Necessary? Who knows? But I'm sure that took a lot of work.
So it can be raining on one part of the track and not on another, and then you have like the drying cycles of that. You go into it with dry tires, and then your tires get wet, and then you go out onto a dry course with wet tires, and all of the factors that come into that. So some definitely cool things that they're doing with that. I would probably, personally probably would stick with the PC version because, that's going to be a little bit more maxed out. But I think it's cool that they're putting it multi-platform. It's on PS4. It's on Wii U. It's going to be, and it's going to be the only real simulation this fall. Like out of all those games, you have the Crew, which is really arcadey and this weird RPG focus, and then you have the other games, which are realistic, but not super realistic. So this one is for the pure sim fans. Speaking
of RPGs, World of Speed sounds kind of intriguing to me too, because I like MMOs. Yeah, so these are the same guys that do Project Cars, by the way. And it's a different publisher. It's like my.com or something. It's a weird Russians, yeah, Ryan says. But it was interesting. What I got to play, actually, it's a free-to-play game. And what I got to play actually looked really good. Unfortunately, the controllers that they had to use for the event have an input lag. Oh, and bummer. So I didn't get a good feel of the game because of the controllers. Or at least they blamed it on the controllers. But the concept of what they're going for is interesting because they're talking about like really like having like one-to-one associations with MMOs and having sort of quest systems and classes and all of that. And so you'll go into a race with a bunch of objectives that are team objectives, but no one person can complete all these objectives because they'll be based around
cars that are tuned very differently. So you'll have a drift objective, and then you'll have a speed objective, and then somebody needing to win the race or whatever. So all of these things kind of combine so that you essentially have different drivers on your team taking up like different class roles. So it's interesting to see where that's going. It said free to play, but not evil. I think everyone is kind of
it's funny. It's funny.
On that trying to not scare you with free to play.
It's funny that free to play is given the word free like a bad name.
Yeah, it really is.
Free. It's like you used to be excited when stuff was free.
There's a game mode. He didn't go too much into how it works, but there's a game mode called Territory Wars, and so if you're fighting for like specific tracks, and so if your team is like the owner of that track, then your insignia will be emblazoned like in all the flags and stuff on that course.
Yeah,
so neat. People will really be like fighting over,
because that's it in an MMO. You want to take territory, or you want to show off your progress visually.
So I think there's a beta that you can sign up for now. I don't know if it's available to play yet, but I know that you can start signing up for it already. And then the last thing that I saw, which both of these were kind of like unexpected. I was going around, I knew that the first 4 games would be there. I did not know World of Speed was going to be there, but because I was at the Project Cars booth, as soon as I was about to walk away, and he walked up, and then he set up those other settings for me, and then he was like, hey, I have this other game upstairs. I'm about to do a demo with Jeff Canada. You want to come up and check it out? I was like, yeah, I'll go check it out. And then similarly, I ran across another contact who used to be at Bizarre Creations, and she's working with a team that's working on this Vita game called Tabletop Racing. And I guess it's already out on mobile, but they're beefing up, adding more features and higher frame rate and all that. And it's essentially Mario Kart, but with like these little Micro Machine type cars driving around on like picnic tables around hamburgers and potato chips and whatever else, And what was kind of neat is that each car, not only do you have to pick up items like the missiles and bombs and that sort of thing, but each car also has like a unique ability. So the car I was using had like a shield that that you could activate. So your car's unique weapon would be on the left button, and you'd get that every lap. You'd get the recharge of that.
Oh, cool.
And then the ones you pick up would be on the right shoulder button. And it looks like they're adding a lot of extra features and things like that you probably wouldn't expect from a smaller game. There's guys that worked on Wipeout, and there's guys from Bizarre Creations working on it. And it's I don't know if it's going to be great or not. I just played one race, but I know if you have a Vita and it's not too expensive, it might be worth checking out.
Not a lot of zany racers at this year's show. Nothing like a Twisted Metal or a Blur or even like a Trackmania. So yeah, it kind of stands out that way because it's a little goofy. Well, that's a lot of stuff. Some people take 12 minutes to talk about one game, but you fired through 6 different racing games. So out of those, Forza is probably the one you're most excited about?
Forza is the one I'm most excited about. Forza is the one that I think has the most breadth and depth combined. I think Drive Club might actually look a little bit better than it right now. And it might do some other specific things better, but I think Forza, it might be the overall contender, but we'll just have to see. I mean, it's just a tiny slice of Forza that I saw.
Are they releasing similar? There's an Xbox One exclusive.
Dude, it's nuts. Exclusive? Forza is out on September 30th. Drive Club is out on October 7th.
Awesome.
And then The Crew is out on like November or something.
Right.
Yeah, I think November 11th.
Well, we'll see how they do. Thank you so much, Blood, for the update.
Yeah.